Hey guys, AJ here, back with another one. So today we're gonna do something just a little bit different. I have my boy Kane here, and we're gonna actually do an interview today. Now, Kane is an interesting case, and he's gonna get into his background, his past, because Kane's former military, and he has a couple of pretty cool um, ideas and views about college and other things. So, Kane, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey Jay, man. Hey, how's it going? So my name's Kane. Currently 25 years old, Ethiopian. I was born in Ethiopia, and at the age of 5, my family was able to move to America via a visa lottery type of situation where you submit your visa request to the government, and they essentially they take a certain amount of requests to migrate legally to America. And the government doesn't really help you after that. They just allow you to come over and live with your immediate family, such as like a immediate household, like mother, father, children. Uh, so so yeah, so I came here when I was at the age of 5 from Ethiopia, and went through the basic life, right? So through elementary, middle, and high school, and after that, I pursued my enlistment as you said, AJ, to join the Marine Corps at the age of 18, and
Cool, man.
after that, I
Wow.
did other things,
And
and
just living the
yeah,
dream now, huh? Right on, man. Well, so
yes, sir.
I have 10 questions here. So I think that one of the things I'm going to caveat this, that one of the things that I could say that so for all of my subscribers, they all know how I feel about the Stacey Abrams thing and the she's trying to get black male votes, and black men are kind of walking away from a lot of these Democratic politicians that have been ignoring our interests for the last couple of years and voting all kinds of ways, independent, Green Party, Republican. But Kane and I talk a lot, and he has a lot of the same political views about not wanting to be pandered to by some BS. So I have 10 questions here, and we can kind of jump in. I think that you've already kind of shared a couple answers, but let's start over from number one. That's basically where you're from. So you said that you're from Ethiopia, but where did you grow up in the United States?
So so when we came
General
here,
area.
first place I grew up, yeah. So like it's uh Prince George's County.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
So it's a yep. So it's not exactly, it's a little on the hood side of PG, up until I believe middle school, and then from there we moved to Montgomery County, so a little bit more suburban.
Okay, okay. And and tell me about yourself. I mean, what do you into did you play sports? Do you still watch sports? I mean, do you go to the gym? Do you kickbox? What are you into?
Man, I'm not gonna lie, I do quite a bit of stuff, man. I'm a little bit of jack of all trades, yeah, I guess you could say. Throughout high school and everything, I learned how to play trumpet very well. I played jazz. I was in the marching band. I was in the symphonic band. I also wrestled. And My first year of wrestling in high school, they put me on a varsity. So there was a lot of tournaments that I went through for that. I ran cross country. Um, I was overall athletic throughout high school.
How are you gonna do the
I loved
Ethiopians?
training.
How are you gonna do the Ethiopian stereotype of running, man? Come on. That's
I had to counter
racist.
it out with wrestling. Hey,
But
that's why I
hey,
had to wrestle. I
yeah,
can't just I
I
can't just
remember.
run.
I remember that you and me both when we first met years ago. Yeah, remember I used to be in the band too, so I played the trumpet, the trombone, and then I wrestled in high school too. So yeah, we actually have that in
Oh wow, look at that.
common. Yep. So
Yeah, that's pretty sick, man.
and then as far as now, what are some of your major hobbies that you do now?
I absolutely love. I didn't think I was gonna get into this, honestly. But I love rock climbing,
Okay.
whether it's like indoors or outdoors. Um, Obviously, I like going to the range sometimes. I like shooting guns. It's I feel like if you're trained properly and you understand how the mechanisms work, there's nothing to be afraid of. Uh, and I love going to the gym. I love training physically. And It sounds weird, but I like learning. Um, I love studying.
Mm,
I feel like there's so much more to life than just sitting around complacent. I feel like learning things is a blessing.
okay. Cool, 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 cool. Okay. So, uh, are you married, single? What is your current relationship status?
So honestly, it's a little complicated, man. Essentially, uh, legally, I am still married. Um,
Okay.
However, I'm in a process of a divorce. Um, at this point, though, it's ridiculous. It's a really long story. Essentially, she's asking for the divorce, and I've already accepted it. I said okay, but it's been 4 months, and she has yet to give me the paperwork, uh, or the ring back or anything. She's been
Wow.
complacent, and I've been asking her constantly. Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy.
Well, guess what? Next week is gonna be my divorce week. So I'll have to have you back on and we'll talk about divorce because I know you have kind of a crazy story, and I think that some of my subscribers will either want to hear your story or they've been through it. So we'll have to double back next week and have you on again. But let's get into the next question, and is that did you go to college?
So I went to college for a little bit. I went to college for about a year, um, and I was majoring in aviation management with a piloting like licensing program that
Oh,
the college I was going to had.
cool.
Um, yeah, but
And
I dropped out after that year, man.
was there any particular reason why, or and how old were you at the time?
At the time, I believe I was 22. Um, and yeah, so the college, the situation was crazy. First of all,
Was this
um,
before or after the Marines?
so this is after the
Okay,
Marines.
okay,
Right. So essentially, you can get into this program and do the entire piloting thing, for well, via the GI Bill.
okay,
However, if you're a reservist, you get something called a Chapter 1606, and essentially it's not a full on GI Bill. It's a very minuscule amount of money that they are willing to give you every month, essentially
okay.
around 300 something dollars. And I don't know, like as you know, 300 something dollars is not going to get you very far in school. Uh, so as somebody who comes from a middle class family, to be able to try to do this piloting career through this college is extremely hard, because overall, when you're done with everything that you need to graduate with, mind you, an associate's and all the licensing you need to be a professional pilot, it will cost you over $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very like, I don't know. You need to come from a good background of money to be able to do something like this,
And you didn't
which
want
is
to
really
get
unfortunate because I love
into
flying.
debt or loans or any of that stuff,
Oh,
correct?
absolutely, absolutely. No, no, no.
Perfect,
That is a
perfect.
big no, no.
So I guess this could kind of segue. So would you ever go back to school? Or is like the whole debt thing and the tuition thing kind of just in your current career just keeping you uh away? Because you make a good money. You had said you were a firefighter, correct?
That is correct. I'm a
Correct.
firefighter and EMT.
Awesome. 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 So would you ever plan on going back to college is the question.
So if you had asked me this prior to me going into the paramedic program, I would have said no. However, I found a pretty good passion in medicine, um, and I would like to better myself and my job and my ability to perform my job, I should say, through this. And the neat thing that the fire department I'm working at has is something called a skill bridge program. And once I obtain my paramedic license, I'm able to transfer a lot of credits towards nursing to
Okay.
any college of the state. And I'd only need essentially my gen eds and one or two other courses. So if I'm able to do that, then I will be able to finish with a bachelor's in nursing, my
Nice.
certificate, and still be debt free.
But so the caveat is but you wouldn't just kind of quit your job now and just go back into a 4-year degree, correct?
Absolutely not.
Awesome. Okay. And why, can you explain why that is? Why is that just not a deal for you?
Of course. So essentially, I believe that colleges are overrated. While you're going through high school, uh, they preach and preach, and essentially they give you an option like you have to go to college. You don't have any other option. If you don't go to college, you're gonna end up broke. You're gonna end up working a minimum paying job for the rest of your life, and that you're never gonna be successful. That's what they I feel like they program into the young minds. Uh, but what people don't understand is the education you receive in college rarely translates directly and significantly to the job that you will be doing. Aside from certain occupations, obviously, but what are you going to do with a 4-year liberal arts degree? You know what I mean?
Facts. Yep,
Like what
facts.
you're
Yep.
going to go into all this debt. You're going to go into all this debt, all this time that you're wasting of your youth, where you can start your career, and instead go taking steps backward, owing a lot of money with a degree that you can't make money from.
Yep.
This entire system, I believe, is very selective and very, very honestly, it's almost like a scam at this point.
Yeah.
Especially with how colleges are, how expensive they are nowadays.
Hmm.
It's quite insane.
And the interest rates on these student loans is just off the chain. You know what I mean? I mean, the way that these loans are going, there's people that have been paying on them for years, and their balance is actually higher than it was in the past. So, and to all you, everyone listening, my third video is actually a video on a woman who has $120,000 worth of student loan debt. So go check that one out. I'll drop a link in the description. So, kind of focusing, you had talked a bit about cost. What do you think specifically about the cost of college today? Meaning tuition, housing, out of state, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I didn't even get into the tuition changing from whether you're in state to out of state. I feel like that does not matter. Um, why would you charge people more money to come from another state to go to attend your college? It's almost it. This is the biggest business scam in my opinion. Um, that plus, as you mentioned earlier, the interest rate. All the people normally going to college, the vast majority of them are fresh high school students who have zero credit, uh, and the interest rates are increasingly high, and they're only getting higher with the inflation and everything else that's going on.
Mhm.
And I feel like everything I'm telling you, unless you get a job that will pay you a significant amount of money after you are done with your college degree, there is no way that you're not going to be paying your college bills and your student education bills for at least another 10, 15 years. So you're going to be living pretty much under your means while the people who went from high school to a regular job are now advancing in their job and obtaining more money than you are with a college degree, with a bachelor's degree. And nowadays, bachelor's degrees don't mean anything.
Yeah.
People are asking for masters, doctorals. If you have a bachelor's degree, what you're gonna come out making, anywhere between $70,000, $80,000. That's in this
And that
market. That's
depends
that's
on the
really not a lot.
degree. So
Absolutely.
if you're an engineer or like a nurse, yes, but there's not a lot of bachelor's degrees that you start out making anything more than 55,000 a year. And I think that a lot of people who that don't really understand the intangibles of the money. So like if you have this debt hanging over you as you're trying to start a family, as you're trying to pay them off, as you're trying to get a new job, that's stress. That's extra stress. I have this hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt constantly hanging over me, like the mental strain that can put on a person, as according to a person that, say, a firefighter or in the military, whatever, who's living debt free, just lives a much more relaxed lifestyle. So I guess what we can move on to segue, and I can ask, so is it, meaning college, is it a good investment for men today, men specifically, to go to college in general?
Absolutely, in my opinion, right. In general, for the most part, I would say no. Um, for men, we have a lot better chances of making more money and advancing ourselves in life faster by doing trade jobs or even trucking, any type of high progressive rate of income later on with that uh, specialization and certification. I believe that's the best bet for us because essentially you start a trade school while you're working as, you know, whatever apprenticeship you would like plumbing or electrician, for example. You get, not only will the company pay for you to go to school and specialize in this, but you're also getting paid a decent amount of money while you're going to school. And when you finish your certification and you get your journeyman's license or your master's in electrician or plumbing in any of those trades, for example, you'll be making more than most people make with a bachelor's degree with no debt. Not just that, but if you get your master's in any kind of trade, you're allowed to start a business.
Yeah.
This opens up multiple pathways of income.
So yeah, so that brings up a good point that I was talking to some of my other friends about, and especially a lot of women don't know this because they want the doctor, the lawyer, or whatever, and they don't understand. Doctors are in school until they're like 28, 29, right? So if you have a guy
Absolutely.
who's a plumber, he gets his plumbing certification when he's 20 and he's working. And by the time he's 28, he could have started a business, or an electrician started his business, and then have multiple guys working under him and be making hundreds of thousands of dollars or more by the time he's in his late 20s. Whereas the doctor's still in school or just getting out of school and has debt. A lawyer's the same way. A
Absolutely.
lawyer gets out of law
Absolutely.
school, he's 26, 27, all the debt, and then he's just starting out at a law firm as a junior attorney, or where we live here in our area with the federal government, and they only start out at like 75,000 a year. So you have one person that's starting out fresh with debt, and the other it's well established. And then obviously you know that trades are a young man's game, but by the time that you're getting older, you have started hiring the younger guys to do it for you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. I have an example actually.
Oh, okay.
I was an apprenticeship for electrician, right? So I was an electrician apprentice. I was on my I believe my second year. Um, and I was working with a man, let's call him Zeke. So Zeke, he told me that he was put on a scale job. Now, for those of you who don't know what a scale job is, essentially uh, it's a contract that trade company will obtain. That's a government job. So they'll go to a government building and they'd work on that building or construct that building. And as a journeyman, he was making $60 an hour not including overtime, to work on that scale job. And he was on that scale job for, I believe, 3 years, consistently making $60, if not more, by working overtime. And this does not include the fact that since he's a journeyman, he could do things on the side. He, he would get hired by private people like, oh, can you come in and fix my wiring? Can you add a circuit board? Can you do et cetera, et cetera? And he could charge them as well.
Mhm.
So this man was a very hard worker while he was young. He was a journeyman, and I believe he was about my age, about 25 at the time. And he worked this job for 3 years consistently. Not only was he able to buy his 300 something $1,000 house, but he was also able to put his wife into college as an anesthesiologist.
Wow.
So she graduated and she's making a ton of money now. And mind you, they are debt free and have a surplus of cash.
Wow.
And he's doing his thing. And now he's like 20, he's 31, I believe. So this is nowadays, this is a huge accomplishment, you know?
Hmm. Yep. That's the plan. I mean, I did the math. So his base pay with that $60 an hour, if he's working 40 hours a week, that's 115,000 a year he's making. Plus, you said he did overtime. So you figure that most
Absolutely.
doctors start below that. I mean, they would start at, less than six figures, and their lawyers start at like 75, where I used to work. So he's already making more than starting doctors, and then a pretty well established lawyers, but with no debt and then more time to move into other things and more time to actually sharpen his skills. Wow. So I think that this next question is more about, you and I have heard all the horror stories about all the false essay charges and false grape charges that you hear in college campuses, and you hear about kind of this misandrous, man-hating, liberal, woman pro-woman garbage that happens on campuses. Would you ever go to college basically as a modern man that you are, like being red pilled and knowing what you know about women, misandry, society? Would you go to college as a modern man knowing this?
So personally, um, like I said earlier, I would have said no. However, now I would say you are able to do this as a modern man, but you must tread lightly.
Yeah,
And this is what I mean. If you go to college as a modern man and you expect the same kind of college environment that your dad and your mom have been through, or the generation before us has went through, you are in for a shocking surprise. I would recommend treating college, if you go to it, as a job and strictly a job. It is not a social event. Do not try to entertain any kind of parties, any kind of women. That is not the goal, because nowadays people get tied up for things that they have not done. There was, I forgot when this was, but it was a couple of years ago, I believe. There was a college athlete, promising D1 athlete. Okay, he was going to be drafted into, I believe, either the NFL or the
that was
NBA.
Brian Banks.
And
Brian
one of
Banks.
his
Yeah.
Okay, there you
Hmm.
go.
No,
Yep.
keep
And
going.
then there was that
You can tell the
false
story.
grape.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
There was that. Oh, absolutely. So there was a false grape charge against him, where I believe it was his ex girlfriend or some chick that he was messing with at the time, that she filed, and this not only incarcerated him, but it ruined his career. It ruined his college. He was kicked out of college. He was incarcerated for years, mind you. Okay, he lost whatever contract he was going to make with either the NBA or the NFL. Um, and this is just so later on, a couple years later, she comes forward and claims that it was a lie and that she did this for petty ass reasons. Okay. Can you imagine? She stole this man's youth. She stole this man's future, all because of some petty reason. I forgot what it was. Maybe she was jealous that he was entertaining other women, or whatever the case is. But she got away clean. They did not charge anything for her. They did not give her any time. He was not given back his youth, clearly, and he was not given back admission into the NFL or the NBA. And all of this because a woman felt that she was not being appreciated, or whatever she felt. She chose to lie and ruin a man's career. And the fact that the the law nowadays does not hold women accountable to this kind of thing and just lets them go off easy is ridiculous because she has ruined his life.
Um, so funny thing that you use the word felt. Isn't that crazy? That she felt some type of way, and then he ended up going to jail. It's crazy, right? It's feelings. It's
Absolutely. There
feelings
was
over
no proof.
facts. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's
So
ridiculous.
so for all the listeners, the ending of the story was that he was in jail and they she reached out to him on Facebook. And this is years later. He had done 6 years in jail. She sued the school district or the college or whatever and got like $1 million, had spent all the money. She was like, "Oh, we should be together." And he was trying to trick her. And he said, "Yeah, we can, but you gotta say that you lied. I mean, you gotta tell the truth." So that's what made her actually come forward. It's because she actually thought that they were gonna be together at the end of this. So,
Can you
uh,
imagine the amount of
yeah.
delusion that this woman must have had?
So they let him out, and I remember when they let Brian Banks out, they ruled him as acquitted. Everyone's acting like it's a story of hope and joy, but they never really did anything to the woman, and they even tried to get the money back, but she spent it all. So, well, she should go to jail for theft. But okay, so let's get to the good part. What, as a soon-to-be like newly single man here, and you know where we live, there's a lot of these college educated, quote unquote, strong and independent women around here. What do you think of
Hmm.
college debt and dating? Seeing as you don't
So
have
this is
any
the thing, right?
college debt.
Absolutely. So this is the thing. Um, College debt and dating. So I I believe that if you're dating, if you're going to commit yourself exclusively to that one person, then there has to be a potential that you see to eventually be married with that
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, a lot of things factor into this, right? Obviously, okay, so you have emotions for that person, but that's not the only thing you have to look at. Okay, there's bigger things, more important things that are life impactful, such as you said, college debt, right? Spending habits, okay? Uh, prioritization of time. All of these things factor into whether you should or should not marry somebody. Marriage, I have learned, is not solely based off of feelings. Okay. So, like you said, if if you try to date somebody and they don't have their priorities in check, then that should be one of the biggest red flags to you. And if they're not willing to even entertain the idea that they are wrong or correct their behavior and prioritization, I believe that's also a big red flag. And it will not end up in your favor for either parties.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, have you had any experience as of late dating around with any women that have had massive amounts of college debt?
So not dating, um, like committed. However, I've been on a couple dates with some women who, for example, there's this one. Let's call her Kendra. Okay, so she was telling me that she graduated out of University of Maryland, and that she had some type of bioengineering degree, and that she's now attending some other school for her master's, and she intends on going to a PhD program.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, I was like, "Oh wow, that's impressive. I see you're very invested in your education." So I asked her, "Okay, so how are you able to pay for all this stuff? Do you have did you get a scholarship, a full ride scholarship? Essentially what's going on?" So she said she had a partial scholarship, and she's taken out multiple loans, including personal loans. Now,
Ooh, private
personal
student
loans
loan debt.
have a very, yeah, yep, private student loans, correct. So
Yikes.
those are notoriously high in interest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and uh, they are very hard to pay off. Not only pay off, but they're hard to even reduce.
Hmm.
So this was already a big flag. And I asked her, I was like, so how are you going to pay for all this? And her response was, and I quote, oh, well, when I get my degree, I can get my job and I'll just stay at home and pay it off while I'm at home. And I
What?
asked her, have you calculated how much it's going to cost you? And how long are you going to be staying at home trying to pay off this bill? How much money are you going to make starting off? You know,
I think that a lot of
her
times
answers did not make sense.
I think that a lot of times young women don't realize what their timetable is, and this is kind of a thing in with the red pill community and with Kevin Samuels and a couple others. They talked about is these women who do these PhDs, right? They do it as an ego project, right? So they will let's map out this timetable. Usually done with your PhD by the time you're like 28, right? 27. So if she were to get a job starting out, well, she'll probably be a postdoc, but either way, she'll be almost 30 by then, and then she'll hit the wall, right? And then that,
Yep,
but here's the thing, a lot of PhD girls, they have this, they have no relationship skills because they focus so much on school that they don't really date or anything for that 6 years that they're in grad school. So they come out all awkward and strange. But remember, geriatric pregnancy starts at 35. So while they're trying to build their career up from, say, 28 to 30, 35, how are they going to meet a guy that they want, get married, and have kids? Most women, you need to really focus in on from 28 to 30, 35, getting married and having kids. But they're going to be graduating with their degree and then trying to get into the workforce at the level that they want to pay off those loans. So it's a complete mess. And also, too, if they're staying home trying to pay off the bills, they're not thinking about potentially having to deal with another person. What if, Kane meets this woman and you guys are 30 and you hit it off and then you want to move to a different state to have a new job, then she'll not want to move because she's trying to pay off her student loans. So her whole idea is completely selfish and self-centered. And you wonder
absolutely,
why so many
absolutely,
men are not trying to deal with these educated chicks, because you can find a girl who's on fries at McDonald's who's a dime, who Kane will go, hey yo, I made fire captain in Iowa. You want to go? Oh yeah, cool. I can work anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Instead of, oh, I cannot move anywhere
absolutely.
because I might need to pay rent to pay off my student loans. So I guess the last question here, and this might be interesting for you because of your marital situation, was would you marry a woman? Well, A, would you get married again? And B, would you marry a woman that has massive amounts of college debt? And what I mean by massive amounts, I would say anything over like 60,000, and that's still a lot, but 60 to like, okay, what is your upper limit that you would just be like, no, it isn't happening?
Hmm. I'd say I'd say more than what she makes a year starting off after she is done with school.
So if she
So if
made
she makes
55 and
so
she
if
has
she right,
55, yeah, okay.
right, yeah. So if she comes out of school and makes 55, if her student debt is larger than 55 itself, that is a big red flag, and that is definitely a no-go in my opinion.
Okay.
Uh, right. And honestly, that's if I get married again. Uh and I was already hesitant on my first marriage. So I've only been married once, right? And I was already hesitant on my first marriage because of the political climate that we're in today. Um, and this might be a little sidetrack, but as you know, there's not much. The men don't really get a lot from marriages nowadays, right? Uh, let's say you get married and she decides to leave you.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, God bless my situation. My situation wasn't like this. I didn't have any children with her, although she had asked me for many. But so if that's the case, if you have children with this woman, not only does she gain money from you via alimony, but now you also have to pay uh, child support, and you can only have certain visitations per her allowing you.
Yep. Yep,
So
that's true.
she could have, yeah, and absolutely, and she has the option of saying no. She doesn't want you. She wants 100% custody, and she wants you to have nothing to do with the children's lives. And
Mhm.
even if you were begging her to have visitations, to meet the children, to come give, even to just drop by and give birthday presents on their birthdays, on special occasions, graduations, etc., etc., she can deny all of that. And then you know what will happen? The child will think that the father wants nothing to do
Yep.
with them
And
the
she can
entire
go
18 years of their
against
lives.
against the court order too to let you see the kid. And oftentimes the court doesn't do anything. I had family court week a couple of weeks ago, and it was basically going into all this crap about how there's, you know, the most insulting thing that I've ever heard any woman say is men just need to fight harder for their kids. I used to be a parole officer years ago, and I used to have court days where I would go to court for some of the offenders that I would supervise. And Tuesdays I would be there, and you walk by the family court room, and you look at these men just getting destroyed in family court. And what's even worse is you
Absolutely.
can't see your kids, but then she can move some new Negro in there and he's around your kids. It's just a bad deal all the way around.
Absolutely.
Um, I think that my friend Chris, he'll be on here soon. Maybe I'll have both of you guys do. Chris is a unicorn. He got both of his two daughters full custody in a court battle. So
Wow.
we need to get him on
Wow.
here because he really has a really good experience and he's former military also. So that's a no that you wouldn't marry a woman that has massive amounts of college debt, correct?
Absolutely. That is a no.
So what do you
Um,
say to anyone that would say, well, Kane, that's shallow. You know, you should look at more than just money.
okay. Then I would say if that's shallow and like you said, we should look more than money. Do they understand that money is in fact what shapes your future? It is a high indication of what you prioritize and what you think is important to you. So if you think a roof over your head, adequate food on the table, a better life for your children is shallow, or or attempting to achieve that kind of dream is shallow, then that's on you. Um, a funny thing, this is also a little sidetrack, but a funny thing is that's one of the points that I brought up to my ex-wife when she claimed she wanted children. She said, "Oh well," and I quote, "Oh well, a lot of poor families have children too. Why can't we?" Why would we why would we put
I'm sorry.
ourselves explain to me, why would we put ourselves in a situation where the children will have to struggle along with us? And they didn't ask to be fucking born, they didn't have
uh,
a say. But these
wow.
irresponsible young adults decided, okay, we're not ready for children, but we're gonna have them anyway because we want to, because we once again feel like it, right? Without any concept of reality or logical reasoning, we should have children and struggle even more than we are right now as young
Wow.
adults.
Well,
Okay,
sounds
this
like
makes
you
zero
dodged
sense
a
to me.
bullet with that one, my
Absolutely,
good friend.
it is a blessing in disguise.
Wow. So I guess we can kind of wrap up here, but can you just give your last thought? If you had two young black men in front of you that were 17 or 18 about to graduate from high school, imagine that my
Right.
audience is them. Tell me, say what you would say in a few sentences about college.
Okay. I would say if you're going to college purely because people have been telling you that that's the only way you're going to be successful as young black men in this world, I would like you to know that they are completely wrong. Not saying you can't go to college at all, but there are smarter ways of doing it. You can join the military, enlist, active duty, 4 years. Then after that, you not only get your 4 years of college afterwards paid, but you get something called uh, BAH, which is a basic allowance housing. So they will not only allow you to pay or allow you to go to school for a 4 year university, but they will also pay for your rent and give you extra food based off of your zip code location of where you're attending school. Okay, there are smarter ways of doing this. Do not think that you need to take out tons of loans. Do not focus on women. Women are not your priority at this age. At this age, you need to start building your foundation to your future. Okay, start and learn about the economy. Okay, learn about money. Try to, and if you don't want to go to college, there are tons of ways of making money. Enter trade schools, enter trade jobs, begin trucking, get your CDL, start a company. You can do all of these things without a college degree, and you will come out on top by the time you are in your mid to late 20s. And then you're in your prime. After that, you can do whatever you want. You'll have your own house. By then, you'll already have no debt, so you could pay. You can use your money however way you want. You can invest it. You can do whatever you want. After that point, can you start? Okay, let's focus on women. Let's focus on the fun in life. But these years are your golden years, and use them wisely because you will never get them back.
All right. Well, truth bombs. Kane's dropping truth bombs. Man. Oh man. So did you have fun?
Absolutely, this was a great talk.
Great,
Great
man.
meeting.
We're gonna try and have you on again. I think that we're gonna do divorce week, and then, like I said, my friend Chris, with who has custody of his girls, he's gonna really get into his story, and I think that that'll be good to have a panel to talk to him about because of his experience. But yeah, Kate, I appreciate it, and yeah, man, I'll see you around like I always do, and I will send you the link once this is published. And yeah, man, take it easy, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me,
All right,
AJ.
bud. Take it easy. Bye.